when she's reformatted, we get to meet, I'm just going to say it, kind of a hot plant babe.
We get to meet hot plant babe Botanica. Maybe we've just been doing too many episodes of Too Much Energon. We're seeing things that like aren't there, but it's just like, you know what? The no legs, the 4 arms. I'm okay with that.
We've been doing this podcast for so long and watching so much of this shit that we're like sailors out at sea thinking, man, these are mermaids.
Too much energy.
Hooray! You're Silverbolt.
These upgrades come with a warranty.
Blah, 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 blah. Beast Wars once and for all. Titor, what have you done?
I am giving this episode no energon.
What are you, a quintesson?
This is no energon. Fuck it. I can't.
Sigma balls, Gary. No, not that.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Too Much Energon, the foremost Beast Wars, Beast Machines, and all things Beasties podcast, where we talk about Beast Wars shit and also talk shit about Beast Wars. I am one of your hosts, the NeoCal.
And I am the Siege, another one of your hosts.
Some people may have noticed that the Siege has a new favorite toy. But I wouldn't say it's a toy. I'd say it's a necessity. A tool, if you will.
Yeah, it was well, something in this room here is definitely a tool. It's probably me. Yeah, I talked about it last week on the podcast. My girlfriend, Lady Glitch from our Reboot podcast, purchased this David K yes button from David K's website for me, and this has become my new favorite toy. I even took it to work today because I work with several people who grew up loving Beast Wars, and some of them
the cool kids, if you will.
The cool kids, if you will.
Yes.
But yeah, so and a couple of them even are still collecting like War for Cybertron Kingdom toys and
we've
whatnot.
had one of them on the show, I believe.
We have, yeah, on episode 57 of Too Much Energon. My friend and colleague Duncan, he was the first one that I showed this to.
I bet he was super stoked.
Yeah, he thought it was pretty hype. But yeah, so at work I was showing it to a bunch of people, and the reception was quite positive. Although one person in one department like came back and was like, "Hey, that's really fucking loud,"
and you were like,
and
yes.
I was immediately like, oh god,
so really fucking loud. So are you, bud?
No, I'm not throwing shade at the guy who said that. I get along with well.
Yeah, fair enough.
But another thing that I got recently, and this has been since last week's episode, where I shared my glorious haul of Transformers shit that I acquired last week. But my boy Pterosaur, he finally showed up.
In the flesh.
In the plastic. War for Cybertron Kingdom Golden Disc Collection, Pterosaur.
And you know what?
He is a dope figure.
He's pretty cool, but he also got his greasy mitts on one of the golden discs.
Yeah, unlike Mutant Tigatron, who was also part of the Golden Disc collection. Here he is here. I showed him last week, but here he is again. Mutant Tigatron. He did not come with a golden disc. Pterosaur, my boy Pterosaur, is the only figure in the out of the 4 toys in the golden disc collection to actually come with a golden disc. But he has one. It's kind of a weird golden disc because on one side it's got the sounds of the Earth from the golden disc from Cybertron that Megatron stole. But on the other side, it has the symbols from the alien disc that they found on Planet Energon. So this is like,
so that's not like the Voyager golden disc.
But it's both. On one side, it is like the sounds of the Earth, the record, and on the other side, it's the symbols from Planet Energon, the alien symbols.
Shit.
So
Wait, how?
Yeah, it's both golden discs put together.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because one's human and one is alien, right?
I'm like, come on, guys, like, release one golden disc like with Mutant Tigatron, and release the other golden disc with my boy Pterosaur.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is release 2 golden discs, one in each of the 2 figures that I got.
That's what I'm saying too. I agree.
But not in the other 2 figures in the golden disc collection, because I don't give a shit about them.
Just these 2. Well, don't they, like, in that alternate timeline, don't Mutant Ted, Tigatron, and Pterosaur team up?
They do.
Yeah.
Tigatron gets mutated by the quantum surge. Doesn't get turned into a transmetal, just gets mutated. And my boy,
maybe he was like halfway in the CR chamber. Like he was like closing the door when
his head was sticking out.
Yeah, his head sticking out, and it went wrong.
Yeah, it went very bad. So he lost his memory, got mutated, and Pterosaur rose from the lava that he fell into in the dark side and came out with like super fire powers, super lava based like fire powers.
Yeah.
And
a golden disc.
And a golden disc somehow. And they team up
and fight crime.
Sure. They team up and cause crime. They make crime.
They make a crime.
They make a crime, just one.
Well, speaking of war crimes,
my Pterosaur is a figure that is not speaking of war crimes in this case, but Pterosaur is heavily based on the mold of Air Razor, and I'm going to hold them up for a side-by-side comparison. Apologies to audio listeners, but
let's take a look.
Go check out the video. There's as always, link in the description. So,
son of a bitch.
The engineering is extremely similar. Terrors. Oh, sweet. They like cleared up.
Oh yeah.
Not blurry.
But not a copy.
Yeah. No, not like a redeco.
Not at all.
But like the transformation is extremely similar. You can tell Pterosaur is like a heavily modified version of the Kingdom Air Razor
that you
figure.
have them both up, I can tell.
Yeah.
I still dig them.
Yeah, they're both great. And like if you're gonna make a Pterosaur figure, and base it on another one, like you can't go wrong with Kingdom Air Razor because she is one of the best, if not the best deluxe in all of the Kingdom line, in my opinion.
There you go. Opinion piece.
Yeah.
Air Razor is the best.
I think so, yeah. A lot of the Kingdom Deluxes aren't that great. I think that line kind of shines in the Voyager class. And I'm talking like a Transformers collector here. And meanwhile, like I started buying these things like a year ago.
And living vicariously through you, I actually understand everything you said. You know what I forgot to mention? Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 75 of Too Much Energon. I did all that, bro. Didn't say what episode it was. It's 75.
Oh, well, this seems like a good a time as any to get into the episode. So, episode 75 of Too Much Energon. What are we talking about this week?
Home Soil. Episode 6 of season 2.
Home soil, or as I like to call it, Little Shop of Horrors on a spaceship.
Little Shop of Horrors meets Alien.
Meets the Thing.
Me- there's some horror going on here.
Oh, definitely. The plant creature that we're introduced to, it straight up reminds me of like the Thing's final form, Blair's final form at the end of the Thing.
Fuck, man.
Uh,
Yeah, there's
not liking it.
I like it in the horror sense. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I like the Thing. I don't like looking at it.
Yeah.
Like, I like being scared. I like the design of it, but like, I like the design of it because it is freaky.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, same for Home Soil. At least this title, we've been mocking Beast Machines and how they name their episodes.
At least for the past few episodes.
At least in season 2. Home Soil is boring, safe, but like accurate.
Yeah.
Title for this. The first half is a whole lot of just like Beast Machines shit, though. And boy, oh boy.
I got stuff I want to talk.
Okay.
I got stuff I want to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
So the episode opens in space.
In space.
In space.
We get to see that Cybertron is it's all lit up.
In space.
Yes. And we see that there's kind of like an asteroid defense system.
Yeah, some kind of orbital defense system. So I had wondered before, I'm like, hey, so why hasn't Earth or any of Cybertron's allies out there, why haven't any of them come to check on Cybertron? Because presumably by this point, because this is like 300 years in the future, 300 or 400 years in the future now.
Yeah.
Or even however long, because who fucking knows how long the
4 million. Who knows?
Yeah, we knew like the start of Beast Wars, like the Maximals and Predacons came from roughly 300 years in the future, so like the 2300s somewhere. So, but who the fuck knows when Beast Machines is even set? Because like who knows how long the they were in transwarp in the Autobot shuttle? Because Megatron was able to get back like significantly long enough to like put this like horrible like genocidal plan of his into motion. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so
I've been sure about the time is what we're trying to say.
but so I've been wondering before. I'm like, so like Earth has got to be, by this point, have got to be a spacefaring species. It's more than just, like Spike and Daniel like hitching rides on Autobot ships.
At this point, like the Enterprise exists. We got Starfleet. Like we're out there.
Yeah, and not even just the Enterprise. The Enterprise D exists at this point. Captain, like Jean-Luc Picard and Commander Riker, Data and Geordi and Worf and Counselor Troy and Dr. Crusher and Wesley and Reg Barclay and Chief O'Brien and Guinan. Okay, I'll stop now. That's pretty much the principal cast. Are all like warping around the galaxy in the Enterprise D, Galaxy class starship. Listeners, if you've been listening to this show from the beginning, I like Star Trek. We're going to be talking about Star Trek quite a bit in the near future on our Lasercomb podcast.
No.
I'm really hyped for that.
Okay, so.
But yeah, so
the gist of it is that there's an orbital defense system.
Yes. So the point that I was getting at is maybe this is why Earth haven't come to lend aid, is because they can't get through Megatron's orbital defense system.
They don't want to just fire at Cybertron, so they're just kind of like,
well,
you guys are more advanced than us, so good luck with that.
Call us if you need us.
Yeah.
We'll be down the road.
You got our number.
Yeah.
But what happens is there's a bunch of asteroids heading towards Cybertron, and these like orbiting like laser cannons kind of fire on them. But amongst all the asteroids is a ship.
Yeah. And the ship ends up getting through the blockade. Because I think it like essentially like is hidden behind an asteroid that gets destroyed, or like an
It
asteroid.
blasts most of them, but some go by, some like like burn up in the atmosphere or whatever, and the ship manages to squeak through. I wonder if that was the plan, like to hide in this little debris field.
Yeah, I kind of wonder.
But yeah, it crash lands on the surface, and boy, oh boy, everybody notices.
Yeah, everybody notices. And like the thing that I wanted to talk about primarily is because this is kind of a Beast Wars episode. This is a Stasis Pod.
Kind of a Beast Wars episode.
This is a Stasis Pod episode, basically.
And I like that.
It's
go get them.
It's kind of a nice throwback because like Beast Machines hasn't done what is essentially a Stasis Pod episode. So and so like Stasis Pod episodes, like if you're listening to this show, like you're aware. But Stasis Pod episodes were like they would crash on Planet Energon, and the Maximals and Predacons almost always in most episodes. There were a couple where this didn't happen, but generally like the Maximals and Predacons, it was a race. They would have to race toward it to see who could get there first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly what goes on in
what's going
in this
on
episode.
Here. They're staying in beast mode. They're running in their beast forms.
Yeah.
Because they can't be detected, as we've established in their beast mode.
Yeah, that's been established. Gary's all glum about something.
As he usually is. But what ends up happening? Like some Viacons show up and they fight him. That does happen throughout the episode.
That does happen throughout the episode. So Gary is glum about something for some reason. I can't remember what. We've already been recording for quite a while before we even got to talking about this episode.
Gary says some Gary bullshit. Primal says some Primal bullshit. Oh, something right. I remember now. The plant life really isn't like taking hold as much as he'd like.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So thank you. So the plant life isn't growing as much as he would like, and he's like really beating himself up over it. And Cheetor is basically like, "Hey, Big Bot, don't worry about it. Like you're doing the best you can." And he's like, "But how can I be expected to save the entire planet when I can't even save these plants?"
I feel that, man. I feel that.
Yeah.
With my plants.
How could I be expected to raise children if I can't even keep these fucking spider plants alive?
How can I look after a human being when I can't even get a succulent that you barely need to water to survive?
Yeah. And the ship, like, well, I'm gonna jump ahead because this is so the ship,
the Viacon's running.
The ship crashes. The Maximals notice. Well, Silverbolt notices and comes back and tells the Maximals about it. And he's like, "Yeah, we gotta go get it." And Gary's like, "Yeah, we gotta go get it. And get there before Megatron does.
So fly ahead of us. Go."
And so they notice like the Viacon. They figure out that the Viacons are like heading for it like right away. And Gary tells the Maximals that they'll split into 3 teams, and Silverbolt immediately. And this is something I wanted to talk about because I thought this was fucking dumb. Silverbolt is like, "You, Night Scream, you're with me. We'll be faster. We'll get there faster by air than by land." And Black Arachnia immediately gets fucking butthurt about this. And I'm like, she gets like jealous and she gets like all pissy throughout the episode about the fact that he didn't want to take her with him. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's fucking dumb. Like,
you can't fly.
Yeah, you can't fly.
You don't have a jetpack.
Send the two who can fly off together to get there first. So fucking Megatron. That's what Megatron did in Beast Wars. Like, he would always send his flyers. He would always send Pterosaur and Waspinator.
Sorry, they did that. The Maximals did that too.
Yeah.
Silverbolt and Black Arachnia were in a relationship, but like they still had missions.
Yeah.
So like, why are you being pissy? Also, it's Night Scream.
Yeah.
He's the vigilante of the group, if you will.
How do you mean?
I don't know. He wants to be a badass vigilante, but like he's in the awkward teen years.
Yeah. He's. I've said before on this show that Night Scream is insufferable, and I kind of have to grade episodes on a curve now. Like, just acknowledging that Night Scream is going to be in it and be insufferable, and try and judge the episode accordingly, not taking any of that into consideration because it's just going to be a constant.
He's only a little bit insufferable in this one.
He's a lot insufferable, in my opinion. He drove me up the wall in this episode.
Oh, geez.
So they fly on ahead, and Rat Trap tells Black Arachnia that, well, don't worry about it too much because Silverbolt will come around eventually. And she's like, eh.
Yeah.
So they go. Megahead spots the ship crash, and he sends Thrust and his Viacon goons off to.
He needs more goon generals. He's by himself out there.
Yeah.
He even brings that up with Megahead later.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, what do you want, man? It's like 1 versus 6." And Megahead's like, now it's 1 versus 7.
That might get addressed. Skipping ahead a little bit, but yeah. So when the Maximals are like on the way to the ship, they're in beast mode, and Gary makes a point of saying like, "Oh, make sure we stay in beast mode so we can't be detected. We don't want the Viacons to be onto us and to be onto the ship, get there before we do." But then like Thrust and his band of like cycle bots all just show up behind them. So it's like, okay, so they can't detect them, but they can fucking see them at this point.
They just saw a bunch of animals running down the street, and like, maybe there are cameras around. There's no animals in the planet, and there's also no Cybertrons. Like, the streets are bare.
Yeah.
Right. So like, of course you're gonna fucking like see them all, especially with that hype music playing out of the boombox whenever they're running. And so they follow up anyway, and I'm like, why go through all this stay in beast mode bullshit like when you end up fighting the Viacons anyway? But then there's like a quick turnaround, like Silverbolt is like, oh, we shouldn't leave them alone, I have a bad feeling. And so Night Scream's like, what are you, their dad? and they decide to turn around, and they come in like the nick of time to save the other Maximals when they're surrounded by Viacons.
Yeah, Night Scream is an insufferable dick to Silverbolt throughout this episode. And then
why was he immediately nice to Noble? And he said, we're best friends, he's like me. And then just mean to Silverbolt for no reason. Besides bad writing, like, are we supposed to dislike the character? Mission accomplished.
Yeah, well, if you wanted us to hate Night Scream, then well done, because, oh boy, we do. This show would be significantly better if he just wasn't part of the team.
Yeah. Also, less things would actually go wrong.
Well, and like, you could probably remove Night Scream from this show, and the show wouldn't be all that different, because he doesn't factor into the plot very much. Like, he doesn't play an integral role in anything most of the time.
He's just kind of there, here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does his, like, so battle ensues, like Silverbolt and Night Scream, Batboy.
He throws his dentures at it.
I was gonna bring that up. Cheetor.
And he goes, I'll just help myself to your yummy energon. I'm like, shut up.
Cheetor goes all Fruit Ninja again.
Yeah.
Rat Trap, like, oh no,
hijacks. He's underground with Black Arachnia. 'Cause
Yeah,
they all split up.
right. He's underground with Black Arachnia, and Rat Trap and Black Arachnia get attacked by some of those like drill
The big
bots.
drill rigs, yeah.
The
and they hack one
heavy
of them.
metal drills.
They hack one of them, and he's like, "Hop on!" And
Yeah.
they dig to the surface. Like, yeah. Yep.
Yep.
And so they all end up arriving after they defeat Thrust and his boys. They all end up arriving at the ship at the same time, together as a team, which kind of makes all of them splitting up.
I was gonna say, which kind of renders them splitting up pointless.
Do you see why I said like the first half is kind of, or at least the first third or whatever is kind of like,
yeah, and Silverbolt and Nightscream going off ahead to get to the ship first, but then turning around to come back and help. Like, and they
where's
all
this
just
moving the plot ahead?
yeah, they all just end up at the ship at the same time.
They could have started the episode with them just walking on the ship at the beginning. Like, did we need to see the first like 8 minutes of like bickering and fighting with each other and fighting the Viacons?
I liked it because, like I said, it's kind of a Beast Wars throwback in the sense that this is a Stasis Pod
racing.
episode.
Yeah, they're
it's
racing.
It's the two sides racing to an objective.
There's something lost when there is a set amount of Predacons and a set amount of Maximals, and they're all trying to get to the Stasis Pod. And it's like, oh well, if the Predacons get there first, it's just Waspinator or Pterosaur, right? And it's like, oh, well, if they get them on ground, and should they all go? Should they just send like a couple of them to get there first, right? And there's a set cast. But with like countless Vehicons with drones, and they just get blown up, and they're kind of never a threat. There's something lost there. And Thrust is like, I'll get you next time, dang you Maximals.
Yeah.
There's something lost there. And indeed, it stops being like a podcast a Stasis Pod episode when they reach the ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they go into the ship is on the interior is like completely overgrown with like wild plants.
Gives me Xenomorph like Aliens vibes in the way that it covers all the walls and everything.
Right.
Something is amiss here, and they look super scared.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
And
Gary's taken out the trash.
Well, he's trying to.
No one is going to tell this big ape good night.
And indeed, the horror theme kind of like starts out a little forced. A vine shoots out of the ground when they're in the bridge.
Right.
And Silverbolt lets out like a bird scream noise. It's the same soundbite as the opening from Beast Machines. It feels like there should be a bird scream in Beast Machines.
Yeah.
And he gets super scared, and he transforms into his robot mode, like looking shocked. But it's just like a vine that grew beside him, didn't attack him or anything.
That is kind of weird, though. And and he's like, well, how did it grow so fast?
And he's like, oh, what is it? And Nightscream's on the ground in his like little bat form. He's not transformed. I actually like the shots of him. They give me derpy Pterosaur vibes whenever it shows like him just as a bat, like hopping around. Like I like him in his bat form. I don't like him. We've already said this, but we don't like him in his robot form. Yeah. And he looks up at Silverbolt, and he's like, it's called a plant. Dumbass. And he's like, yeah, bro, I know, but like it just like jutted out of the ground like crazy suddenly, and as if it was trying to hit me.
Yeah, dude, I know what a fucking plant is. I came from a planet that was all organic, you stupid little shit. That's where I was fucking born. Have you ever been to Planet Energon? I don't think so.
That's right. And then while he's like talking shit to him, a tentacle beast gnashing its plant teeth descends from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like a jump scare from like a monster movie, and they both look up and go, ah, and then it cuts.
Yeah, so suddenly this ship has become Little Shop of Horrors meets John Carpenter's The Thing meets Alien.
You know
Not
what?
Aliens, Ridley Scott Alien.
You know what? I dig it.
Yeah, it's rad. I love it.
And
And
after
this thing is truly like fucking horrific looking.
and indeed it cuts after the commercial break, the cut, it comes back and it's attacking all the Maximals. Like just tentacles, and there are teeth, and it's this big, like you said, like the thing getting biomass and getting bigger and able to attack everyone all at once.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, they're all freaking out. What ends up happening here? They kind of break free somehow. How do they do that? Is it Black Arachnia that breaks them out? Oh, Silverbolt yells, "Target the trunk." And Black Arachnia, before they're all like crushed to death by the vines and stuff, she like electrocutes or uses her venom or something at like the base of the creature. And it lets everyone go, screams like a weird The Thing monster, and disappears into the vents. Speaking of Alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because he is very smart, Gary Primal looks at a piece of broken plant matter, looks up at the vent, looks back at the piece of broken plant matter, and like says to the others, "We're dealing with an alien life form." And I was like, fuck. I actually laughed. They weren't writing that as a joke, but I laughed, and I was like, "That's why you're the boss, monkey."
Keen detective work right there. Well,
that's why you're the leader.
And then he immediately is like, "We have to stop it before it infects the entire planet." And I'm like, "With what?
But how?
But how? How do we know that that's what it's trying to do?" And
or that it can even do that,
or that it can do that. And also, and to
it's
the
a weird
episode's
presumption.
It is a weird presumption, but and to the episode's credit, I was like, isn't that what you guys are trying to do? Trying to make fucking plant life grow everywhere? But Cheetor actually brings that up later on.
He does, yeah.
So I was like, because I was wondering about that for like the remaining like 10 minutes.
And I was like, doesn't this solve your problem? And it's like, no, because these are scary plants. I want good plants that I can make coffee out of and eat bananas from.
I want techno-organic balance, not whatever the fuck this.
I want a hot plant girlfriend that I can fuck, not a monster that. Am I playing my hands too early? My car playing my hands too early here.
Well, I mean,
yes.
I did find it interesting that Botanica, as we'll come to know her as, that she also Botanica, voiced by Kathleen Barr, the voice of Dot in Reboot.
Well, that explains everything.
But I found it interesting that she knew Gary Primal's name because he didn't introduce himself.
Yeah, and she says at the very end, she reveals her name, and then blah blah blah, and then Gary Primal's like, "Hey, how about you join us?" I'm like contemplating the universe and like growing some herbs, and she's like, "Sure thing, Gary Primal," and I'm like,
"Yeah, how do you know his name?
How do you know his name?
Is
you thought so too?
Yeah.
Is there a reason? Does that come up, or is that just a hiccup?
I don't know. Maybe it'll be explained in a later episode that that they knew each other like in a past life or something like that. I don't know.
Or maybe he just has some fame.
Yeah. Maybe
he's like a famous explorer.
Yeah, he's just well known.
Yeah, because in the same they find out that we'll talk about the science and why she was on an organic world, blah blah, when we get to it.
Yeah, we can kind of jump ahead, really. So they let's
just do it. Gets out of the ship. They're scared. They chase after it.
It gets out of the ship. They chase it. They chase it around. They end up in this like cavern, and the thing is like being all like monstrous and horrific and being
trying to attack them.
Trying to attack them. But then it starts shorting out, and Gary is like, "Wait a minute,
hold your fire,
hold your fire," and they're like, "What? Why? What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm going to reformat it." And they're like, "Wait, what?" And so he sends out his like chest beam.
Once again, without consent, he
He just
But in this case, it's warranted. Yeah.
Yeah. He
And blows his chest beam all over this creature. Yeah.
All over this creature, and it gets reformatted into
presumably its original form, which is a plant maximal.
Well, this would be a techno-organic version of its original form.
Right. Remember, so its original form would have just been the organic kind of plant being.
Yeah. But yeah, so Botanica, hot plant babe, as voiced by Dot Matrix. I'm
barely any human features, and yet here we are. Like, doesn't even have legs. Like, is either attached to the ground or crawls around on vines.
Yeah. And so the Maximals are stunned, and they're like, "Holy shit, you're a Maximal!"
But how?
And so she explains, and I think this is really fucking cool.
I was like, okay, let's hear it. And then when she explains, I was like, I'm on board.
So she was the captain of another exploration ship, just like the Axelon. But she landed on a planet where like there
was only plant life.
There was only plant life, and there were
she says like chloroform-based life forms.
Chloroform-based life forms. So
something like that.
Something like that. Not carbon-based.
Wait a second. Chloroform is that stuff you put in the rag that makes people pass out. Not that I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff they would use in MASH when they were out of anesthesia.
There you go. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, chlorophyll based life forms.
Yeah,
and so instead of animals, like Cheetor notices, hey, yeah, we all got animals. You must have all got different plants.
And so, we get like a flashback to her ship on the planet, and it sends out a DNA sequencer. And so something, the door to the ship opens after the DNA sequencers have scanned, and we get a silhouette of that same fucking Megazord body.
I knew you were
from the episode of Reboot, Nullzilla, that was then
that kind of default robot shape.
That was then reused in the first episode of Beast Wars as Megatron before he got his T-Rex form. They're using that same fucking robot body from Reboot again, but they put like her head on it.
Recognizable silhouette. Yeah.
Recognizable silhouette of her head.
I only noticed that because of how much you pointed that out. I'm sure you're like the only and me through you telling me, you're like the only person who has ever caught this reused asset throughout these shows. Because it's on all 3 shows now.
Yeah. Well, and like we've talked to like big Reboot and big Beast Wars fans on this and our Reboot podcast, and I've mentioned it to all of them, and none of them have noticed.
Yeah, so it's been on Reboot, this Mainframe Studios. Reboot, Beast Wars, Beast Machines. I don't know. I like that.
It's that Megazord body from the first or second season episode of Reboot, Nullzilla.
I dig it.
Making its 3rd appearance in Mainframe Studios.
It's
a shame that it didn't pop up at some point in Shadow Raiders, because that would have just been.
Now I'm wondering. No, you would have noticed.
I wouldn't. I definitely would have noticed.
Because I'm like, maybe it did, and it's like, no, we definitely would have noticed.
Yeah, we definitely would have noticed. So yeah, I think this is really fucking cool. I would actually like to know more about her and her mission. Like,
she's got big eyes, long eyelashes, big succulent like lips, and nothing else human. No nose, no ears, no hair, and yet somehow it's proof you just need pretty eyes and I guess not much else.
And something to stick it in.
And those DSLs, and we're good, folks. Her plant coloring kind of makes it look like her like eyeliner and eyeshadow game is like on point.
So Thrust
Green
and
lipstick.
Thrust and a bunch of Viacons show up, and there's a battle that goes on. We don't need to go too
They end
much
up
into
getting
it.
surrounded, and for some reason, the first time in the entire show, they're like, "Man, I guess we have to give up. There's nothing we can do. We're surrounded." And I'm like,
Yeah,
I understand why. I could see it coming a mile away. You need to let the new character save everyone.
yeah, totally.
Right.
Botanica transforms again, and I mentioned this with Silverbolt a couple of weeks ago, but they made a big hubbub in the beginning of the show about characters needing, after they've been reformatted, needing to learn how to transform and mass tame the beast within and be at peace with oneself and say, I am transformed.
And even just saying it doesn't work. You need to like Rat Trap. It took him forever.
Yeah. So that was a big plot point of season 1. Season 2, we had
everyone can transform.
We had Noble and Savage, Noble transforming into Savage willy-nilly, Silverbolt immediately knew how to transform, and now Botanica immediately knew how to transform. So
there is no beast within. She's a plant. Sure. When she transforms, I'm like, what is this gonna be? I don't
she's
it's cool, but she changes from one plant to another.
She changes into another plant that kind of looks like a curvy lady wearing a long dress,
like a curvy lady with the vulva part of a plant opening up.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, and her lower half looks like she's wearing a really tight ankle dress that goes all the way to the floor,
hugging those vegetable hips.
Yeah.
She's kind of translucent.
Yeah. It
is cool. It's cool.
Her torso is kind of translucent or transparent. Transparent is when you can see through something, right?
Translucent is when you can't fully see through it.
Oh, okay.
Opaque is solid. Translucent is it lets some light through, and transparent is it lets light through.
Oh, okay. Well, today I learned. I didn't actually know the difference.
There we go. So she takes out her Dungeons and Dragons spell list, and she casts chain lightning on the tanks. It's super effective.
Yeah. That's
even have everyone? Other people don't even have guns, bro, and she can just cast chain lightning and take them all out.
So she's a mage, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
and
she's a wizard, Harry.
You know what? Based on her design, especially in robot mode, I totally buy it. She's a
what
mage.
Do plants have to do
wizard.
with Black Arachnia has cyber venom on board.
Right.
Spiders have venom. Gorillas can fly and they can shoot energy discs out of their chest. Makes sense.
Rats have wheels.
Rats have wheels and they can hack into things. They're always hacking into your computer. Makes sense. Cheetahs are fruit ninjas. Makes sense. But you know what, man? The plant is where I draw the line. Plants can't harness electricity.
Yeah, so she takes them all out, and then Thrust is is up above on a catwalk, and he's like, "You guys are gonna regret this," and transforms and fucks away.
He's "You foiled me again." Yeah, and takes off.
I'm like, are they gonna?
Are they
it? What?
Because they've done the same thing they always do. They just beat your ass.
Yeah, they just.
How's this time any different?
Yeah, they're just gonna kick your ass. They've kicked your ass.
Why this week? One time? It's they smashed your toys in the play, during recess.
They broke his favorite cycle drone. I don't know.
That one was my girlfriend. I
could
tell because I engraved a dove of peace on her, and you blew her up. You maniacs.
A Dove of Peace, a reference to Peacemaker. If you want to hear us talk about that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb and check out the second episode of our Patreon exclusive show, What Are You Watching? We talked about Peacemaker for like an hour.
Yeah, Peacemaker and things definitely adjacent to Peacemaker and not at all Gremlins 2.
That was like the last 10 minutes or so of the episode.
Yeah.
We mostly talked about Peacemaker and superhero shit. But yeah,
You
go
know
check
what's
that out.
nice? You know what's nice? How the episode ends. Home soil. Instead of there being conflict with the new person, they're kind of like, hey, oh, Botanica. Okay, dude. Wanna like hang out with us?
And I wonder if some sparks are gonna fly between Gary and Botanica.
That's what I was like.
They're
Gary.
they're I mean
Are we doing it?
I mean, he's a big, strong, and wise and zen gorilla man, and you know she's a hot, like magical plant babe. They're both like equals, like they were both captains of exploration crews. Like it would be ethical for them to get together.
My dude, Primal, like, I'm okay. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Gary Primal has died and been resurrected like 3 times at this point. Guy really needs to get laid. He deserves
he's 50. It. He's 50, you know, he's gone through his career. He's trying to settle down. He's trying to grow things in simplicity. Maybe he can plant things in simplicity with Botanica.
Maybe he can
she's like 30, early 30s, you know. She's like, oh, well, you know, I kind of want kids.
Yeah, maybe he can seed her soil, if you know what I'm saying.
What are you saying? Can you explain it to me in details in fan fiction? Can you write this down in a 400 to 600 word format? What we're saying is we kind of see the chemistry going, but we actually dig it.
Yeah. But how the episode actually ends was now, Cal, I've been saying to you for a while that in season 2, the lead up to season 2, I'm like, season 2 is going to go places like you will not expect. And the episode ends with something that I did not expect.
Okay, so very quick. They're like, before we jump to that, because that's some shit. They're like, they look around, it's like, okay, well,
oh right,
Botanica is like, yeah. Why is there plants on Cybertron? And Primal's like, okay, so like it's a long story, but we're struggling. We're trying to get these plants. These tank drones just like trampled all over them. Like, I don't know.
I'm gonna fail. Like this was our project for the science fair, and like
Teacher Oracle is gonna fail me.
The science
and
fair
the prom is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she like looks up, and you know they just got like fluorescent lights there, and she's like, you need UV lights. Have you never grown? Like, have you not done any of that stuff? And he's like, what are you talking about? And she whips like a seed into the light, destroying it. And I'm like, bitch, what are you doing? But like somehow the techno-organic like plant plugs into the electricity, which now explains why she was able to ground herself and use electricity. And it becomes like a UV light. And immediately the plants are like,
spring to life.
Immediately fucking go nuts. Springtime. And she's like, hey, these plants need like special light. And he's like, oh shit. Well, glad to have you on board. And see, I like that because she's a scientist, studies biology, and she was on a planet with just plant life. So of course she fucking knows that plants need these things. The next thing you know, she'll blow their minds and say they need water.
She's like, what the fuck is this like blue goo that you've been feeding these plants all this time?
Primal's like, that's not water?
Like, he's like, I don't know.
Isn't that what plants crave?
It's what is it? What
What's the Gatorade from?
From Idiocracy, yeah. It's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
It's got electrolytes.
Yeah.
Idiocracy energy drink. It's on the tip of my tongue too. Brondo?
Brondo, that's it. I was thinking like Mondo, but
I was like Mondo. Mongo?
I kept thinking Power Thirst, but I'm like, no, it's not
Power Thirst. Yeah, so I'm waiting for
That's
the
some
episode
fucking old internet shit right there. Power Thirst.
It'll give you energy legs. Yeah, he's all like, well, like, I'm waiting for it to be like, well, what? Like, it's what plants crave. And she's like, no, you give it water. And for Primal to be like, the stuff in the toilet. But it cuts away. She showed up just in time. There's some, I think there's some chemistry going on there. And we cut to the sky.
Megahead is talking to Thrust. And Thrust, as you mentioned earlier, Thrust is like, the fuck do you want from me, dude? I'm just one guy, and there's like 6 of them. And Megatron's like, now make it 7.
And well, let me tell you, Megahead can transform.
Yep. I actually, when I was watching this earlier, when he started transforming, I actually yelled out, holy shit.
Holy shit, because one, it actually looks like it could be made into a transformer, like how it folds out and stuff, but it pulls some Beast Machine stuff and stuff just appears out of nowhere. So
yeah,
it'd have to be a little bit like different. I'm getting some Star Trek vibes from certain shapes, right? Like Bird of Prey, or the way thrusters, warp drives are shaped at the backside. And it's got floodlights in the front.
The warp nacelles.
There we go. And it's got like LED, like glow. It looks very alien. And it's got some cannons.
So Megahead turns into a mega fucking ship.
And it blows that shuttle up because it had a bunch of plant life like growing around it.
Filthy organics.
Filthy organics. I think not. Pew pew. And he transforms back into Megahead.
I think not. Pew pew.
Filthy organics. I think not. Pew pew. So like, I have no idea where this is going, but like, I am so fucking on board. Like, I am dumb shit aside. Oh, and you know what? Black Arachnia reconciles, and she's like, hey, looks like you made a friend with Night Scream.
Oh yeah, because Night Scream out of nowhere just stops being an insufferable shit toward Silverbolt.
Sometimes he does, but then the next episode forgets.
I was just gonna say, I'm sure next week he'll be a fucking dick to Silverbolt again.
The recurring theme of Beast Machines is that we think that Night Scream has grown and isn't a dick, and then next episode forgets that and he's a dick.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it looks like you made a best friend, and Silverbolt is like, no. But I did get kind of like a brother
actually
vibe.
So I like what Silverbolt said. She was like, "Oh, it looks like you made a friend, and maybe you'll learn to forgive yourself, like we all have." And he's like, huh, whatever. It's like he kind of was like, whatever. Like he was like he didn't know how to respond to that, but then just like put on a front.
So I'm liking Silverbolt. He's a weird. The bird form is. I'm easing into it. I'm learning to be okay with it. I got used to his dog face,
right?
But I'm it's growing on me, and Silverbolt's okay. He's not as damaged as Rhinox. Like Rhinox is fucked.
Yeah.
So like some shit Rhinox has gone down. Yeah. Rip in peace, Rhinox.
Oh, there was a part in this episode where what was it? Gary and a couple of tank drones were like charging toward one another, and like Gary like smashes into them. In my head, like I just imagine him like running toward and just being like, Rhinox! And like smashing them,
Rhinox.
beating his chest.
Yeah. For
Oh.
Rhinox.
I actually wish the show would linger more on Gary being like having to deal with how things went down with Rhinox, because
It's
like
mentioned here or there in the sad moments where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, the gang's all together again. And then like Primal, like sad Enzo music will play. And Garrett, like Primal will just like walk off, and then Cheetor will be like, ooh.
Enzo being a character on Reboot.
And he'll be like, ooh, not everyone. Ooh,
if someone listens to this show and hasn't listened to Alphanumeric, they're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Who is Enzo? And why do I care? Main character of Reboot.
Yeah, it's a sad Enzo music is a running joke on that show of ours.
Yeah. But yeah, there's been times here or there where it's touchy, but there's been no, what's the word? Closure.
Yeah.
Or wrap up. Yeah. And maybe that's the point. Maybe.
I just wish this show would actually explore how Rhinox's descent into, not madness, but descent into just becoming
whatever he was, yeah,
an evil asshole by the end of things, and like then like losing him. And I wish the show would explore like how that fucks with the Maximals emotionally, but it's a kid show at the end of the day.
It's a kid's show, and we did get to see them like hurt and confused when he left that first time they met him,
right?
And like Primal was like, hey, let him go, when he was like first woken up. And yeah, it would have been nice to have like a 5-minute segment where they're kind of like doing a funeral for him or a send-off or something like that. And
no, I would like it to actually be a subplot throughout the entire second season, just them like how it's affecting them emotionally.
Oh, just here and there, and
yeah,
being without him and what it meant when he was an enemy, and choosing to remember the good over the bad. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's not the show we got.
But instead, we got Megahead and Plant Babe. Here on, well, first of all, that's been Home Soil, Season 2, Episode 6. And here on Too Much Energon, we rate every episode of what we're watching on the Too Much Energon scale. There are 3 tiers from bottom to top. It is not enough Energon, which is bad. A sufficient amount of Energon, which is it's all right, middle of the road, to too much Energon. Too much Energon being that was good, either the best or good.
Yep, simple rating system
was in it, but it was good.
Simple rating system. I came up with it specifically for that reason. So it would be simple, basically bad, okay, good.
Yeah. And Siege, what do you think of Home Soil as a whole? What do you rate it?
It gets a too much Energon.
So despite the Viacon fighting, despite the night screaming, it still gets a too much Energon from you.
Like I said, I don't take Night Scream into account when grading the episodes, because if I did, they would all get the best they could get is a sufficient amount of Energon. The beginning, I liked kind of the throwback to Beast Wars, it being, like I said, being a Stasis Pod episode. The horror stuff in the ship was really great. I like Botanica. I want to know more about her. I would really like to know more about her mission. Fuck, I would like to see a spin-off just about her, like her and her crew, like landing on and becoming plant formers. Like that sounds fucking
What
cool to me.
conflict did they run into? Were Predacons on that planet too?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Like
Was there like a sunflower? Like the good guys would be a sunflower. Whatever it is she is, right? Maybe a corn, sure, whatever. Like flowers, rose. There we go. Right. And bad guys could be like a Venus flytrap. Right? Ivy, like poison ivy, right? Like
a cactus.
There you go.
Man, how hype would it be to see a Predacon cactus?
Pretty hyped.
Oh God.
I'd be fine with that. Like 5 episodes or 1 episode or a comic or something like that, being like, what shit did they get up to on that planet?
Listeners, I don't know if it exists. I might do some research, but if anyone listening knows if there was any like spin-off material involving Botanica and her crew, let us know. Send an email.
We very well may review it.
Send an email, toomuchenergon@outlook.com. But yeah, anyway, so Too Much Energon from me.
Too Much Energon. Just gonna mirror that. Like Megahead transforming
blowing
Megahead. Shit up. Botanica being like interesting instead of like, it's a trope that there's conflict. There's always conflict with a new bot, but like it didn't feel like the conflict was that they were infected.
Yeah.
And then saved. It was short-lived. They did some horror stuff. It was cool. Thrust said some dumb shit, like whatever. But like, yeah, man, Stasis Pod episode. Yeah. Also, interesting character. I don't care what people say, man. That's right. Beast Machines is good. Suck my dick. Yeah, I like Botanica. I don't know if she can move. Like, is she grounded? Do people have to pick her up, or does she like slither? It's cool, and I would have never predicted it. Siege is like on record being like, you haven't seen any of this before, but like, there's no human way, even if you had infinite guesses, that you could that you could even begin to believe where the show goes. And indeed, this is one of the episodes that proves that, and I'm all board. So it is a unanimous Too Much Energon.
Yeah, this season so far, we've had Megatron as a giant fucking floating head in the sky that now transforms. We had like a wolf that transformed into a dragon.
But that was also Megatron.
And now we have a plant Maximal. Like,
now the Maximals have a mom because Air Razor's not around, rip in peace, and things are starting to shape up.
I'm gonna try and look for a Botanica figure, I think.
Why not?
Yeah, I only have a couple of Beast Machines figures, but because most of them are pretty fucking weird looking and don't look anything like.
Yeah.
Well, but most of them don't even look like they do in the show. Like a few of them do, but like Rat Trap, I really like Rat Trap's design in the show. His toy looks nothing like him.
No.
They actually have one at Cherry Bomb Toys, a local toy store. I think it's like $35 or something. I've passed on buying it just because it's such an ugly figure and looks nothing like him on the show.
Are there Oh, it doesn't look like him.
Yeah, no.
I just found a picture. Weird. I just found a picture that is a Botanica and a Rat Trap. And I'm like, wait, that Botanica, somebody made that out of 3D printing or something. That's not the actual figure. Is there an actual figure? There is.
Yeah, I'll take a look on the TF wiki later.
Huh.
But
wild.
But anyway, that has been episode 75 of Too Much Energon.
We did it.
Best way to support the show. I mentioned Patreon earlier. Go to patreon.com/lazorcomb. LAZORCOMB. We're starting at the $5 and up tier. You get bonus preamble audio from this and all of the other podcasts we do week in and week out. We're currently doing 3 a week right now, and they usually end up being anywhere from a half hour to an hour long, so that's hours each and every week of content to listen to of us just shooting the shit. I mentioned What Are You Watching? It's a new spin-off of the preamble, where we talk specifically about media that we've consumed recently. We talked about Peacemaker for about an hour or so. You get that at $5 as well. You also get a commentary, our monthly-ish commentary track. Too Much Commentary. There's 6 of those out right now at the time of recording. 4 of them are about Matrix movies. I don't know if that's a selling point for everyone out there.
It's a selling point for me, damn it.
$10, you get all of that, plus you get our news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight. There are 25 of those now. And the last one we did was a kind of supersized, nearly 2-hour episode. Also at the $10 tier.
The peek into the madness of our actual stances on things.
Yeah, it was a good episode. Also at the $10 tier, me and Cal have another podcast called the Lasercomb Podcast, where we do this, but it's about a random episode of a TV show, of a different TV show every week.
Different TV show every week. Random episode of that TV show.
We figure out how many episodes a TV show has, and the shows are usually chosen by like Twitter poll, or sometimes we just pick them, draw them out of a hat or whatever. And then we just go to numbergenerator.org and type in the number of episodes, and whatever random number it generates, that's the episode we watch and review, whether we've seen the show before or not. But if you're a $10 patron, you get to pick a show for us to do that with. We've had several Patreon sponsored shows now. They're a lot of fun. Really eclectic mix of shows from our dear patrons. So go check that out. Patreon.com/Lasercomb. Social media. Follow Lasercomb Productions on Facebook. Facebook.com/Lasercomb. Once again, LAZORCOMB. Or you can follow the show on Twitter at Too Much Energon, or you can follow me at Lasercomb for the final time, LAZORCOMB. Cal, what are you at?
I am at NeoCal, NEO_KAL on the Twitter.
We are taking next week off because I got some life stuff going on. So I'm going to be.
You're not allowed.
We record the show on Thursday nights, and next Thursday nights I have a dinner reservation at a fancy restaurant.
How dare you do human things
with a lovely date? So no Too Much Energon. I know, right? I'm basically a monster.
Basically a monster. You do my niche podcast on the day that I want it out. You need to think about my feelings. I don't even know. Am I pretending to be like a listener now? Am I just talking as myself? I don't even know. I'm playing devil's advocate for no reason. Life happens, and I wish you good luck.
No episode next week. We will be back in 2 weeks on March 10th with episode 76 of Too Much Energon, where we're going to be talking about the 7th episode of Beast Machines Spark War Part 1, The Strike. So
it's a 2-parter.
That's a 3-parter.
Oh, it's a 3-parter. Damn.
So keep an eye out for that. And until that time, we are going to get out of here. I have been the Siege.
And I have been the big floating giant head. You may call me Mega Head.
And until next time.
Or NeoCal.
And until next time, I am transformed.
Oh, I'm just going to transform. I don't need an audio mark. I can just do it.
Oh, we got a badass over here.
That's right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Beast machine.